very old equipment in the kitchens. Some of them, the steamers and the ovens, are in the tens of thousands of dollars range, and we can do a preemptive buy something to replace some of these old equipment that we have had to fix again and again and again, or we can wait until they finally fail, and knowing that we have the money set aside, the minute they do, hopefully we can get something in here to replace the old piece of equipment once it fails. For example, we have at least one of the ovens where the doors keep, I don't know exactly how, but you open and you close, and eventually they are out of alignment, and it's not a good thing when half the heat's going into the space rather than into the food. We keep fixing it, and so far it's worked. And obviously fixing is cheaper than buying a new one, but eventually we won't be able to fix it anymore. So when that happens, we definitely have to have the money in there in order to buy the new piece of equipment, or else we have to shut down a kitchen, and I don't think we can do that and feed the students. So, I mean, we can make do for a day or so, but not on a long-term basis. Questions on this year's budget?
Mr. Sullivan?
I just wanted to make sure it's a book, record keeping. I don't know if you mentioned on the agenda, it should be FY11. Did you mention that? Okay.
Sorry. Hold on.
That says 10.
Yes, that should be FY11.
I caught up pretty quickly.
That is this year's budget, and it is
That's the only question I
FY11.
have.
FY12 is next year. FY10 was last year.
Anything else? All right, thank
Actually,
you.
I'm sorry about that.
Mr. Larrabee?
Dr. Colley, the fees and student athletic fees and activity fees, with the balances of about 43,000, 44,000, and we're still due to collect more in for the spring sports, I would guess, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The teams. I know you had made a pledge to parents at one time if we were to reduce, if we had enough monies coming in, you would reduce fees. Is that on the board at all?
At this point, the increases, and again, we'll see how it comes out in the spring. We did add back all the spring, all the sports at the middle school. We added a .2. We may have to take money from these fees collected and put it into those. We actually saw in the fall, I believe, a bit more than we expected collected. So there may be the possibility of doing that.
Okay.
But maybe after we discuss next year's budget, we'll feel differently.
Sure.
Mr. Sullivan?
Just in line with that thinking, I know we've had some communication about looking at these revolving accounts for a better understanding, and I think that points to some of the account representation and how deep we can analyze the revolving accounts, such as should we look at the sports account as a school sub-account each, or by the season? Should we have self-supporting seasons at each, or the budget at the schools, because the fees are equal, and if the cost of running middle school sports is less than the cost of running high school sports, essentially our middle school teams are subsidizing the high school teams, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't determine that based on the presentation of the revolving accounts at this time. So that's
one of the things you're going to find out either with the activities or the sports accounts is the reason why we have to create the revolving accounts is so that you can have a vehicle to collect funds that then would be dispersed back into the program that you're running. In no way, shape, or form does the fee collection match the outlay of expenses. I believe when we looked at this last year, we did leave some monies to run high school programs, or some of the high school programs, and we were counting on some monies coming out of the regular budget. So the sports program and the activities programs are always subsidized, or at least they have been so far, from the regular budget. So usually it's any additional things that we may want that come out of these revolving accounts. So when we added the sports, when we added the sports at the middle school, we added back some of the sports at the high school that we were considering dropping, and added the supervision at the middle school. That's why we increased the fees. So when you look at sports programs and how much they cost together, you would have to look at how much is coming out of the regular budget and how much is actually coming out of the revolving accounts. If you would want us to do that kind of an analysis for you, we can do it. The problem is you're always trying to project how much you're going to collect in a year you haven't finished, or you can go back and look at last year and see how it worked out for the whole entire year. So we can do it maybe fall and we may be able to do winter season. We could probably do that because I don't think we're slated to collect anymore because that season's already started. So we could do fall and spring, compare it to last year, and see how much we have collected, how much is slated to go into salaries or the sports themselves, coaches, transportation, the refs, and then see how much is in the budget to support that. Would that be helpful, at least for this one?
Further analysis. I was thinking more in terms of the school-by-school, and the way to establish that would be to set up multiple revolving accounts for sports. You have a revolving account for each sport, for each school, excuse me, and therefore, if we kept in this current reporting procedure and set up a middle school and a high school revolving account, the analysis is done. That's one way to achieve it, but we'll further the discussion and
Well, let me give
as we
the
look at the
rationale
year
why
ahead.
it hasn't been done that way. It used to be we had one athletic director for both middle school and high school. By combining and just having one athletics account, you could pick and choose, and in any given year, which sport was going to get some additional equipment or, uniforms or whatnot. If you were to totally separate it, then it would be a transfer. Say, for example, on any given year, you come and you decide that the middle school softball team needs more equipment, and even what they collect is not sufficient. But at the high school, you have collected, and perhaps you have a carry-forward balance of a few $1,000s that could cover the expenses at the middle school. Now we would have to come here to make a transfer, to then make sure it gets dispersed to the middle school, and it opens the question, is it separate schools or is